This is how we are called, to cup our hands and hold this peace, even when the sirens begin, even when sorrow cries out, old and gnarled, even when words grow fangs and rend. These words, Kimberly Byer Nelson, and This is how we are called, speak to me this morning. It is a time of sirens and sorrow crying out, and I find it hard to hold peace when there is so much happening and so much to lose. But we are the ones we've been waiting for. The mayor, the city council members, governors, legislators, CEOs of company, and the very rich, the likes of Bezos and Musk, they have more power than any of us, especially as individuals. They are the ones that create most of the shifts in culture and policy in huge measure. So how is it that we are the ones we've been waiting for? We could complain about the leaders' choices, rant in frustration. I've never done that. Tell our friends and those elected leaders should be doing something different, hours and hours of conversation about that. And we wouldn't be wrong. We wouldn't be wrong. Something I've learned so far as an activist is that trying to get our elected leaders to change, even to shift the limited pieces that are actually under their control, is very difficult and happens only under specific conditions. Especially these days, when democracy is so off balance and some elected officials don't feel the need to meet the needs of the constituents in order to get reelected. The Texas Metropolitan Organization, our church is involved with locally, has a model that works on specific votes relatively well, and small adds up. Small also matters to the folks who live in frontline communities who are able to benefit from the policy or initiative that gets pushed forward. For that reason, it is worth our time to make our voices heard. And because the changes at the city and state level are so much larger, they are worth trying to affect. And it just helps to be involved. It helps us to be known. It helps to develop relationships that over time can influence. We are the ones whose voices need to be heard. We are the ones who can change ourselves, which can affect the larger system. In my first job after college, I was a family therapist. I worked with parents whose children were struggling, having troubles. When the parents came to me, they wanted the children to change. But the best way to make their children's behavior change was not through my direct actions. I could meet with parents, meet with children, see if I could tell what dynamics were happening. I could likely help the parents to change. And I had to think about how that might make the parents feel blamed for the problem, since we were trying to explore their behavior and its role in the system. But I wasn't in any way blaming them. It is a deep truth that no one can change another person. We don't have control over that. We can only change ourselves. And it is through changing ourselves that we better influence others or create situations in which change can be more likely to occur. Knowing our own power in changing ourselves is how we can see ourselves as leaders, like the birds in our story this morning. Their journey made them realize what each brought to the community, and that together they could lead. We are the leaders we've been waiting for. And the truth is, members of our church have led and have affected change over and over again. We have some better leaders in office than we did a few years ago, due in part to the work this church did before the 2020 election. Mostly we worked so that information on voting by mail and registering to vote was clear in both English and in Spanish, that potentially disenfranchised voters were supported throughout the process, and that registered voters were encouraged to develop a plan to vote. And we were successful. Our church community offers multiple avenues to make a difference, and often we do so in ways small and large. And we are beginning to work on elections again, this time for midterm. We focus on voting because it makes a huge difference when we have leaders who respond effectively to the very large problems that we face in today's world, including climate change. Members of our church have created change through their activisms in various ways over the years. I recently learned a story about how our climate team in 2006 was involved in creating a big shift away from coal energy, speaking out against then Governor Rick Perry's efforts to increase the number of coal plants. And it was also a time when the words global warming weren't even spoken in these circles in Texas. And that's something to celebrate and remember. Our members have also helped shift consciousness by getting noticed about our green efforts and by writing editorial letters to the Chronicle and by going monthly to City Council and bringing up climate change concerns and the need for the city to create a climate plan, which now they have. And you can be involved in these efforts with whatever time you have available. Visit our Justice Coordinating Council or our Climate Action Table after church today to get connected. What if we were all doing a little something? Of course, it would make a difference, and we can amplify it. I believe the way that we move to a more sustainable future is by each of us slowing down. And when we slow down and get quiet, when we reflect on the power we each have in this crazy big world, we can reflect, what do I have influence over in my life? Reflect on your circles of both small and larger influence. What are they? Maybe it's friends and family members, co-workers, people you volunteer with. When you see where you can influence, decide how you would like to encourage and inspire others. Choose something that brings some creativity and joy, that creates friendship and community, that increases health and extends vitality beyond your own. This is the way engagement brings energy to life rather than burnout. In our videos today, you have seen many of the changes that our own members have made in their daily lives. Some of these are creative. Some bring us closer to the earth and remind me of making mud pies when I was a kid or playing in the rain. Composting and worm farms come to mind. And some things our community are doing don't cost any money and just require some attention and time, like eating plant-based meals, taking public transportation, making sure food gets eaten instead of thrown out, turning down the thermostat, switching to green energy, using as little single-use plastic as possible, commuting by bike, giving up a car, that actually saves you money, volunteering for an environmental nonprofit. Some of the things our members shared, both here and on the carbon footprint out front, require money, but not time. So those may speak to you, like collecting water in a tank, buying carbon offsets, buying an electric car or solar panels. You can imagine, as these practices spread throughout our spheres of influence, we can create a tipping point. Our time is now. This is the time we've been waiting for. We will create resilience, reach for justice, mitigate our own carbon, change our habits, inspire each other, and make our voices heard. We will create more sustainable living, even if it's in the small pockets of our church, our own backyards, and our friendship circles. And through this, we discover the size and strength of our hearts. We discover the quickness of our mind and our steadiness of purpose and our own authority We will feel our love for life and the liveliness of our curiosity, the unsuspected deep well of patience and diligence and our capacity to lead. And when you feel tired, you step back and the others in the group will step forward, keeping the march going. No one of us is alone. We are the ones we've been waiting for. The web of life is calling us forth at this time. We will heed the call. May it be so, and amen.